Metroidvania, a genre constructed by two games, Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PS1 and Sega Saturn, and Super Metroid for the SNES. Both games are critical acclaim for pretty much everything: music, graphics, presentation, gameplay, and whatever else I'm missing. What sets these two games apart from every other game of the time are the genre that these two games defined. The genre is known as Metroidvania. As you can tell, the name of the genre is a combination of the two series' names, Metroid and Castlevania. Other names given to the genre include Castletroid, which is another combination, and Igavania, which is a combination of the name of one of the directors of Symphony Night, Koji Igarashi, combined with the franchise name of Castlevania. Although Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night are games considered responsible for making this genre, it's been around long before even Metroid for the NES. These two games simply define the genre, not create it. The first game to have been an instance of Metroidvania dates us back to the year 1979. In this year, the game Adventure was released for the Atari 2600. Adventure is as simple as it sounds. You're on an adventure. Basically, the story of the game is, there is an enchanted chalice. Go get it. This game does not have much going for it. There are only 3 levels really. I will cut it subselect as it is a game for the Atari. But that's not the important part about the game. The levels are its difficulty settings. I'll get into that later. In this game, there are enemies: dragons, bats, and then normal monsters. The bat roams throughout the castle and steals your items. Not just that, but it also hides them somewhere else throughout the entire game. There are 3 dragons. A yellow one named Yorgle, which is afraid of the golden key and runs from it. He freely roams the game, but can guard the chalice, or help the other dragons guard other items. The green one named Grundle, who guards the magnet, bridge, black key, and chalice. And finally, the red one, Rindle, who is the fastest, most aggressive, and most competent, and he guards the white key and the chalice. As you can see, these dragons have specific tasks. Let's talk about the levels now. The first level, the easiest difficulty, is a simplified version of the game. This version removes the red dragon, bat, and also removes either the white castle, catacombs, or the maze inside the black castle. The second level, the normal difficulty, is the full game. Everything not in the easy difficulty are in this version. And the final level, hard difficulty. This version is a variant of the normal difficulty. It's almost identical to it. There is a difference, however. The areas of everything is randomized. It provides a different game each time you were to play it. While this game isn't exactly a true Metroidvania, it does have elements used and such as a bunch of exploration. Exploration is one of Metroidvania's most defining features. You can see why. It's got an exploration, items, strong enemies which guard items, and more. The next instance of Metroidvania is 1985's Xanadu, produced by Nihon Falcom for the PC-88, X1, PC-8001, PC-98, MSX, and FM07. This game was made in the form of an RPG with a level-up system. This game is also one that featured real-time combat too. This game is then preceded by Brain Breaker by Enix for the Sharp X1, also released in 1985. While Xanadu was an RPG, Brain Breaker was a platform adventure game. Most modern Metroidvania games are mutually affiliated as platform adventure games in these modern days. And oh, who doesn't look at this footage remind me of Metroid? You're on a 2D plane, shooting a gun. Close enough to Metroid if you ask me. And looking at footage of this game, it seems like you have no clear indication of where to go or where you are supposed to go. If you can read Japanese, then you may have some indication, but I don't know. I can't read or understand any complicated Japanese, so me translating this is a big no. And then in 1986, we received Metroid for the NES. As a bit of a backstory, Nintendo were developing two games, Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda. The director of both games, Shigeru Miyamoto, wanted them to be the antipode of each other, one to be linear, and the other to be non-linear. That's how the games came to be like that. So, when you combine Mario's linearity with Zelda's non-linearity, what do you get? Metroid. Metroid took the 2D world of Super Mario Bros. And combined it with the open world exploration of Zelda. This is where it all comes into play. Metroid has a variety of items that help you traverse the 2D world, alongside the conventional platforming as seen in Mario games. In Zelda, you have items like the raft and the stepladder. In Metroid, you have the morph balls, missiles, screw attack, high jump boots, and the rest. There is a bunch of items. This game plays similar to the aforementioned Brain Breaker by Enix. You're dropped in, here's a gun, go shoot things and find your way on your own. Or by the guide. What Metroid has is a bunch of secret areas. For example, in Ridley's lair, if you come into this room and then shoot these blocks, you can jump up there and get an additional missile pack. Or here in Rinstar, if you shoot the roof, you can go through and find the Varia suits. These were placed here deliberately. Metroid did not want you to find everything, it wanted you to experiment to find out where to go and where the items were. Again, in this world, you are on your own. This is where just a fraction of the Metroidvania genre originated from. Later, that same year, a survival horror platforming game known as Castlevania was released by the company Konami. It was your typical side-scroller, you know, get from the start of the stage to the end of the stage. Despite it being a simple platformer, this game had a lot more often than just going left to right. On top of the screen, there is a box with an item in the box that is a sub-weapon. Sub-weapons could be used in the game to defeat bosses and enemies at the expense of your ammo, which is represented by the hearts. Castlevania also had secrets, like if you were to whip this wall, you would find a pot roast. This serves as your health picker for the game, but that's unimportant. The important part is that it was hidden in the wall. There are also candles in the background that can be hit by the whip of your character. His name is Simon Bell, by the way. This feature was inspired by the hidden blocks in Super Mario Bros. Let's fast forward to a bit further in 1986. The game Vampire Killer was released on the MSX2 and X68000. Vampire Killer was intended to be a remake of Castlevania for the NES, but it is quite different. The game moves in a screen-by-screen style, like that of Legend of Zelda for the NES, and in this game you're required to find skeleton keys to continue. Find the door but missing the skeleton key, turn back, go look for the key, then return. This was an instance of Metroidvania, but not the one I'm interested in talking about. Let's go a bit further now to 1987, the era of weird sequels. Castlevania II Simon's Quest was released for the NES. This game was the opposite of Castlevania. Instead of being a linear platformer, this became Xanadu. Simon's Quest was an RPG. It had towns with NPCs, shops, a level up system, a day and night cycle in which houses and churches would close. This game is much more non-linear than Metroid. In Metroid, if you had a good sense of direction, that would have helped. Here, not at all. While Metroid did have experimentation, it's also here, but much more cryptic. Who would have known that you need to equip the red crystal that crouched out in this very corner for a cyclone to come pick you up and take you to where you need to go? More than just Simon gets level up in this game, his items level up alongside him. As Simon levels up, they get stronger. For example, you start with the Vampire Killer Whip. This is then preceded by a Thorn Whip, and then more whips, and a Morning Star. This does add a sense of progress, since your main method of attacking is upgrading. Plus, the more level up you get, your whip is also getting stronger alongside you instead of having you find different whips. As for your items, it's your basic Castlevania arsenal, missing a few, with a few new ones. There's the dagger and holy water. New items include the sacred flame and the diamond. The dagger actually has 3 incarnations: the dagger, silver dagger, and golden dagger. These daggers level up, so to speak, like your whip and Simon. And to end us off, the plot has Simon recollect the pieces of Dracula. Dracula's rib, which is more like a whole ribcage, is worn like armor of equipment, despite saying that the sprite is a shield. Dracula's still-beating heart had little use, but will intrigue the Horseman so much that he will deviate onto a different course. Dracula's eye lets you see I'm buried beneath false blocks, and Dracula's nail lets you break false blocks with your whip. And finally, Dracula's ring lets you enter Castlevania. Dracula's pieces are the real items of this game, as they are primarily focus or progression. Because these games give Simon something new, such as a shield from Dracula's ribcage, giving Simon defense, the progression and the pace of the game feels steady. See, this item, parts of Dracula, namely ribcage, show progression as your character is getting amendments, like how Samus did with items in her respective game. So, that's the backstory of Metroid and Castlevania. So, how do Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night come to play here? Super Metroid was released for the SNES in 1994, as a follow-up to Metroid II Returns Samus for the Game Boy. Samus is the main character of the game, by the way. In this game, she returns to Planet Zabis. Yes, Samus is a girl. This is all common knowledge nowadays. She returns to Planet Zabis to retrieve the baby Metroid. In this quest, Samus acquires the same items she did in her original quest: the Morph Ball, missiles, bombs, Varia suits, crew attack, and the rest. Aside from those, they add more: super missiles, power bombs, grapple beam, X-ray visor, speed booster, gravity suit, and more. See, in Metroid, it was go around and get these amendments to your power suit to be able to traverse the caves of Planet Zabis. And if we're talking Super Metroid, it is pretty much the same. This game, also like Metroid, has experimentation involved. You're supposed to break this block, as well as here on Quateria's surface, where you're supposed to go through to break these blocks. Though that one is optional, the one in Meridia is a requirement. Metroidvania games are all about exploration, and there is tons of that in this game. There are a total of 6 areas: Quateria, Brinstar, Norfair, Meridia, Wreckship, and Torian. This game doesn't tell you where to go, and you're not restricted by any guidelines here. Where you have to go, you're on your own. There isn't an obvious intended path, to be honest, but you don't know what you're getting yourself into. It's not exactly the hardest thing, but there is a challenge to it. And although there isn't an intended path, you can make your own path. This game has a plethora of sequence break. There is a site that lists sequence breaks for all Metroid games out there, and when you know it, Super Metroid has the most sequence breaks at 10. For example, once entering the Red Brinstar area, you have 2 choices: go up or go down. The intended path to go down. But, for example, speedrunners go up, as it is the fastest way to do things in the game. The main reason that sequence breaking exists is due to the 2 secret moves in this game. The wall jump taught to Samus by the Edicoons, and the Shine Spark taught to Samus by the Decora. Though these are secret moves, Samus can use them right from the get-go, but first time players wouldn't know about them. Just imagine, you're a first time player running through this hall, fall down and need a way to get up. This Decora has you covered. Run until you shine blue, crouch, then go up. Simple as that. Shine Spike leads to a sequence break where you can enter the wreck ship without the requirements of the grapple beam, which you will intend to have by the time you get there. This game also kinda shows you how to sequence break. Introducing Metroid II. If you could place bombs very specifically, you could bounce on them to gain height, and then from that, what you could do is reach high places you were not intended to. This is even shown in the opening demo of the game, like they were expecting you to learn it. Item placement in this game is pretty genius too. In Metroid, items can be off the beaten path. Really far off the beaten path. Just look at this example in Metroid. In Super Metroid, it's different. Items are usually on the intended path. Look at this, in the wrecked ship area to Meridia, there is not a single item. Items are never off the intended path. There are some that are really off the intended path, but when they are, there are usually 2 or 3 items for you, like in this room in Meridia, or this one in Green Brinstar. I think this is a really great design, as you don't have to deviate off the main path just to get items except for a few occasions. And really far off the main path for some major items such as the spring ball. So, what did Metroid and Metroid II have? Metroid had a fast open world where it was up to you to find out where to go. No guidelines, no hints, nothing. Just you, a game, and possibly a guide. Tight platforming and very well hidden secrets. How are you intended to know what was there? You weren't. If you experimented, you would have found it. That's what Metroid was all about. Experimentation, application, and exploration. Metroid 2 is really more linear than Metroid, like almost monochrome corridor linear, but it isn't. I don't exactly like Metroid 2, but it has what Metroid had: experimentation, application, and exploration. Like, how are you supposed to know to do this? You weren't. Why? Experimentation. Experimentation alone could very well build Metroid. So what is this game similar to? It's similar to that of Brainbreaker by Enix for the Sharp X1. It's also very similar to Adventure. Almost every non-linear game is. The original Legend of Zelda was in-play tile adventure, just adventure, like the Atari 2600 game. Zelda 1 has dragons, or dinosaurs caught in the piece of the Triforce. In Super Metroid you have giant, gory, dinosaur dragon things caught in the Varia suit, ghosts caught in the Gravia suit, giant seats, I don't even know what the hell this is. Something got in the space jump, and finally, giant space dragons got in the baby Oh. Well, the little bug is dead. But hey, free E-Tank. Would you have known to shoot there for health? Neither would have I. But hey, secrets. That's what Metroidvania is about. Super Metroid specifically is more about that. Exploration, application, experimentation, and masturbation. The meaning of Metroidvania is to have the player gain new items which allow them to further explore the environment the character is placed in. Super Metroid does this extremely well. The placement of the Edecoons and the Daikora, the morph ball and the missiles, the escape from a room with rising lava using the speed booster, and let's not forget the sequence breaks. You gotta love them. Since this is what makes Super Metroid, what makes Symphony of the Night? Castlevania Symphony of the Night was released in 1997 for the PlayStation as a follow-up to Castlevania Rondo of Blood for the TurboGrafx-16. This game also later got a quote-unquote revamp for the Sega Saturn, which has new items, bosses, locations, loading zones, and hardware issues. You just gotta love it. This game is not as open-ended as Super Metroid. I mean, it's as linear as you can get for a Metroidvania probably. That does not mean this game lacks exploration and finding secrets. Like here, you can break down this wall. Not to mention there are secret areas in all of Castlevania that you can find. Who would have thought that the castle was sitting on top of a mine? Underground cavern? Yes. But mines? No. This game features many secret areas. There are a total of 4 or 5 secret areas depending on how you see it. And in the Sega Saturn version, 8 or 9. Again, depending on how you see it. So, what exactly about this game screams Metroidvania? Well, what did Super Metroid have? Branching paths, power-ups, and amendments to your character. Does this game have that? It has all of them, except for branching paths. Like I said, this game is probably as linear as a Metroidvania can get. But again, that does not mean this game does not have exploration. I cannot say much without spoiling this game, so I'll try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible and talk about the spoilery stuff later on. So, if there's one thing this game has, it's the power-ups. This game gives you a bunch of power-ups. The Cube of Zoe, which has item drops from enemies such as hearts and sub-weapons. The Devil Familiar, which is like a little bunny. The Jewel of Open, which are required to open a grand total of not much doors in the game. However, with this, you can greatly expand how much of Castlevania you can explore. And I mean greatly. Those optional areas I mentioned earlier. You need the Jewel of Open to get into those areas. Except for one which you just have to casually walk through and never see again. Unless you want to go through it completely another time. But now I'm getting off topic. Simply put, this game has a bunch of power-ups. The gravity boost, which let you jump high with a Street Fighter-esque input, and the transformation cubes. Alucard, the main character, can transform into 3 things. A wolf, a bat, and this. The bat isn't natural by the way, he has to relearn it. To be fair, the last time Alucard was awake was 300 Castlevania years ago, which is in Castlevania III Dracula's Curse for the NES. So it has the power-ups such as the gravity boost, and the Jewel of Open, and the character moments such as the Soul of Wolf, Wellness, and Soul of Bat. But what Castlevania elements does this game have? First we have to think, what did Castlevania have? Castlevania had sub-weapons, Vampire Killer had secrets, and Castlevania 3 had partners. What do they all have in common? Stupid knockback. I'm glad to tell you this all returns, except the stupid knockback. Sub-weapons return as a method of attacking, secrets return in a way to further explore, and partners return in the form of the aforementioned familiars. What did Castlevania 4 have to offer? Not diagonal attacking, I can guarantee you that. This game does have its own features though that only Castlevania 2 used. Castlevania 2 secretly used an RPG system if you didn't know that. Symphony Knights also did, except it's not really a secret. This comes from a game we previously mentioned, Nihon Falcom Xanadu. This game has a level up system and is an RPG. It even featured real-time combat like Final Fantasy games at the time and still today, and Symphony of the Night. See where I'm getting with this? The Metroidvanias of that time didn't define what the genre could have been, but had a possible influence on these current Metroidvanias. Yes, Symphony of the Night's RPG system came from Castlevania 2, but who's to say that Castlevania 2's RPG system didn't come from Xanadu? Speaking of which, Vampire Killer is still kind of relevant. So, what did Vampire Killer have? Secrets. And this game is chock full of them. Like this wall, this floor, this entire area, etc. And you can sometimes tell where you're supposed to check, indicated by a crack in the terrain. Other times, no. Does this wall look like it has a crack? I broke it regardless. So, sequence breaks. This game doesn't have much in terms of playing as Alucard. It does have some, such as entering Olrox's quarters early and the clock tower early. But Richter Bellman has a bunch of sequence breaks. You could also say the same for Maria, who is playable in the Sega Saturn and PSP version of the game. But sequence breaks with Richter, hold them tight, cause this is a wild ride. Richter's game mode is completely different than Alucard's. Instead of find your way around, it's know your way around, go to the end of the game, now. You don't have to do anything specially usually necessary for Alucard to beat the game. It's just a run, slide or brisk trot to the end to the game with a bunch of Shoryukens. The gravity boost input for Alucard is used for a Shoryuken here, but whichever movement options suit your style, go for it. These Shoryukens can be used infinitely in the air. You can skip the first boss of the game if you so wish, or maybe the entire first half of the game? Yeah, that seems about right. More skips than your average speedrun, folks. With Richter, sequence breaking is substantial. That's why the world record for beating this game with a Richter is 5 minutes and 19 seconds by Mecha Richter. who is a prominent figure in the Symphony of the Night speedrunning community. That just proves how substantial sequence breaking with Richter is. Alright, I'll be getting into the more spoilery stuff here, so if you wish to play the game for yourself and haven't, you can skip the spoilers. There is a timestamp on screen, so you can click that. You can also click on the Vampire Killer Whip to skip the timestamp via annotations. So, those secret areas, there are a bunch of them. There are Old Ross's Quarters, the Underground Cabin, Abandoned Mines, and the Catacombs, and the Saturn version, Underground Garden and the Cursed Prison. There is also the Reverse Castle, which is Castlevania flipped upside down, which offers a bunch of new areas. You need to work your ass off with exploration if you want to get here, and only one of the optional areas are required to be visited to make it here. In the Reverse Castle, you have more of the entire castle to visit. This includes the optional areas too. This is also the way you get the good ending of the game. Yes, this game has two endings. The bad ending where Alucard kills Richter to prevent him from reviving Dracula, and the good ending where Alucard saves Richter from Sharp's spell and defeats his very own father himself. So, how do you do this? You have to get to the Reverse Castle. You must first go to the Underground Cabin, find this room, fight this boss, and then you're done here. Go to the Royal Chapel, equip Sparkbreaker, talk to Maria, get this item, equip and go to this room, talk to Maria, equip this item, go to Dracula's throne room, hit this ball, and ta-da! Reverse Castle. Then after this, you play Simon's quest essentially. You find the piece of Dracula to revive him, then find Shaft, kill Shaft, revive Dracula, kill Dracula, and then good ending. This game, exploration is just outstanding. Unless you find those 5 specific bosses with Dracula's pieces, you are not going to get the good ending, and you're on your own for it. Hopefully. And finally, close spoilers. Notice how much longer this game took to cover than Super Metroid. That's because this game, despite being as linear as a Metroidvania can probably get, has much more content than what Super Metroid will ever have. Super Metroid is my favourite game of all time, but this game could very well override Super Metroid and push down slots. It's that great. The reason it isn't? I'll be dead honest and say I have a bias. Metroid is my favourite franchise. So, what defines a good Metroidvania? To me, an expansive 2D world and in some cases 3D, like Metroid Prime, that is limited within exploration for a while. Once grabbing a few items opens up the rest of the world, and in the rest of the world you find more items, power-ups, more areas by traveling through areas, optional bosses, weapon amendments, equipment, abilities, many things. Super Metroid has the Morph Ball, which lets you go through tight spaces. Missiles which do much more damage than a normal shot. A super missile which does 5 times the damage of a missile. Bombs which let you place bombs in Morph Ball mode. Power bombs which are a destructive force to be reckoned with. The grapple beam which lets you cross chasms. The speed booster which grants you speed and access to the Shine Spark ability. The Varia suit which prevents you from feeling heat. The gravity suit which has you retain normal gravity underwater and under lava. The space jump, which lets you jump indefinitely, the high jump boost, which lets you jump higher, the spring ball, which lets you jump as a morph ball, the X-ray visor, which lets you see secrets. Then there's the charge, ice, wave, plasma and space beams. Charge lets you charge, ice is ice, wave goes through solid stuff, plasma is just plasma, and space is wide. 6 expansive areas, Criteria, Brinstar, Redship, Meridia, Norfair, and Torian. Rewards for exploration and going out of your way, and a shit ton of sequence breaks. So how about Symphony of the Night? A bunch of equipment, 20 areas, 24 in the Saturn version. Rewards for exploration and minimal sequence breaks in Alucard, and a substantial amount as Richter, and presumably Maria. Cuba Zoe which forms items, Jaw opens which opens enchanted doors, Gravity boost which lets you fly fast, Leap stones which give you a double jump, and the ability to turn into a bat, wolf, and mist. With these items given in these games, you can experiment to hell and back and find all possible uses for these items. But to me, that's what makes a great Metroidvania. The ability to experiment with your items, see what you can come up with and what you can do by using those item combinations, where you can reach, what you can find, or the ability to now access. This is what I believe defines a good Metroidvania. Just imagine this: Alucard through Planets of East, Samus through Castlevania, or maybe both Alucard and Samus both through Castlevania and Planets of East. That would be cool, wouldn't it? If you have an interest in trying these games, you can get them pretty easily. Metroidvania is on the Wii Shop and Wii U eShop. You can buy from there. Or if you want to go authentic, there is the original SNES cartridge. For Symphony of the Night, there are a few ways you can go about it. You can get it on PS1, PSN, and Xbox 360 Live Arcade. The Xbox 360 version has a demo of it if you want to give it a shot. You can go download the demo for free. On PSN, the game is listed under PS1 Classics, and for PS1 is the disc. There is also the Japan exclusive Sega Saturn version, which comes with new enemies, bosses, areas, loading zones, and hardware issues such as slowdown. But like I said, it's a Japan exclusive. If you have a Japanese Sega Saturn sitting around your house somewhere for whatever reason, go for it. But like I said, it has more loading zones and hardware issues than the other versions. And there's also the PSP version, which comes with Wonder of Blood, the predecessor of Symphony of the Night. However, the PSP version apparently has crashing issues from what I have heard. Your best bet is getting the game on Xbox 360, PSN or PS1. Anyways, I am Retro Reviver, and thank you for listening to me ramble on about why Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night are the games that strongly define the Metroidvania genre. Have a good day, and take care.